Hello everyone, today we are going to study chapter 14, breathing and exchange of gases. This chapter comes under unit 5 of class 11, that is human physiology. 2 to 3 questions every year of this chapter is asked in NEET and minimum 2 questions are asked in KCET Karnataka. And for Karnataka boards, minimum marks from this chapter is 12 marks. You can expect the questions from diagram based question as well as the pathway and the exchange of gases and transportation of gases. These are the important concepts from this chapter. Coming with the definition of the respiration and breathing, if we consider respiration is more of chemical reaction in the presence of several enzymes. So respiration is cellular respiration that we studied in the chapter respiration in plants. Respiration is the oxidation of nutrients such as glucose, amino acids and fats in the living cells to release energy for the biological work. Breathing is more of a physical process where the exchange of oxygen from the atmosphere with carbon dioxide that are produced by the cells takes place. And coming with the respiratory organs are the structures which are involved in exchange of gases, that is breathing, and it varies from animals to animals or organisms to organisms. If we consider moist habitat where the organisms such as frogs, leeches or annelidans stay or live, in those organisms we see a moist skin or moist cuticle. So that is an example. So if we will see which are the different type of respiratory organs that are found in different living organisms. If we consider the very first, those organisms which are in lower invertebrates, for example, through general body surface, the respiration or exchange of gases takes place through general body surface. For example, in poriferans, that is sponges, jellyfishes that belongs to coelenterates, comb jellies and flatworms that belongs to platyhelminthes all have the exchange of gases through their general body surface where indirectly they are in contact with the water where dissolved oxygen is there and the dissolved carbon dioxide from the body will escape into the water and due to higher concentration oxygen from higher region to lower region it will diffuse. Simple diffusion will take place. And in the organism which live in moist habitat, as I told in the beginning of this session, the earthworm and leech both belong to annelidans and frogs and other amphibians where the respiration takes place through skin. Skin is always kept moist due to mucus gland. So, the respiration which takes place through skin is called cutaneous respiration. Example, annelidans, amphibians. Then next coming with the respiratory organs in arthropoda. Okay, arthropoda. So we see arthropoda in various habitats. Some arthropoda like insects, centipede, millipede, these are all terrestrial habitats. So they have tracheal tubes which are directly opening and reaching the tissues directly. So here direct exchange of gases takes place. That is one thing. So tracheal tubes open to exterior through an opening called spiracles. The opening is called spiracles. Have you ever wondered this spiracles? The importance of these spiracles, they are the entry and exit of O2 and carbon dioxide. So have you ever wondered at home whenever we see a cockroach we spray HIT or Mortein. They are the insect repellent or insecticide. So whenever we spray a cockroach HIT, what happens? These chemicals present in this insecticide will block these spiracles and block the exchange of gases, thereby killing the cockroaches. So that is the importance of spiracles, which is the entry and exit of respiratory gases. And coming with the scorpion, which is the another terrestrial arthropod, respire through another important structure called book lungs. The respiratory structure in scorpion is called book lungs. Next, coming with the other type of arthropods. In prawn, for example, prawn is also an arthropod. In arthropod like prawn, we are able to see the respiration is taking place through gills, that is branchial respiration. Respiration which occurs through skin is called cutaneous respiration, which occurs through gills is called branchial respiration. Example, fishes, all fishes, whether it is cartilaginous fish or the fishes which are in bony fishes, we are able to see gills as the respiratory structures. And also in tadpole, larvae of the frogs, if you are able to see this kind of tadpole, next time you closely observe for the presence of tail and gills. So they respire through gills. Next, coming with the prawn, it is an aquatic arthropod where the exchange of gases is taking place through gills. Coming with the higher vertebrates, the respiration is taking place. Okay, higher vertebrates, and these are completely adapted for terrestrial mode of life. Those organisms which have terrestrial mode of life, they have lungs as their respiration. Whenever we speak about when lungs are involved in respiration, we call it pulmonary respiration. Pulmo stands for the lungs. Okay, pulmo stands for the meaning, that is lungs. Next, coming with the examples, most vertebrates means starting from birds. Okay, birds, even reptiles, humans, they all are completely more adapted for terrestrial mode of life. Hence, they have lungs as their respiratory structure. In our syllabus, we need to study, and one more thing, children, in birds, for example, in birds, if we talk about birds, okay, birds have along with lungs, they have an additional air sacs. These air sacs are always filled with air, and helps in floating or buoyancy when they are in air. They help them to float in the air, and air sacs acts like a balloons. Like balloons, how we see balloons float in the air, same way these air sacs are compensating for the lungs. Okay, that is one thing with respect to birds. Next, coming with the human respiratory system. So what does it contain? Human respiratory system consists of an conducting part and exchange part. And human respiratory system consists of an conducting part and exchange part. Both of them have their own function. Exchange part. So two parts are there, conducting part and exchange part. So conducting part starts from nose to bronchiole. So nose to bronchiole. Whereas alveoli and their ducts are involved in exchange part. Whereas nose to or nostrils to bronchioles is conduction part or conducting part. Okay, so human respiratory can be classified into conducting part, that is air tract or air passage, and paired lungs in which alveoli and their ducts are present. So the bronchi splits at the 5th thoracic vertebra, and from there the left bronchi and the right bronchi enters into the respective lungs, and from there is a bronchial tree that ends up with the alveoli, a thin vascular bags where the actual exchange of gases take place. Next. Coming with the conduction part, it transports atmospheric air into the alveoli. It also clears air from foreign particles. It humidifies and brings the air to body temperature. Let us take an example of nose and how it is purifying the inhaled air. For example, if we consider nose, nose, and it is a receptacle organ of our inhaled air. That is the organ of inhalation. So nose has a nasal chamber, and this nasal chamber is divided into two chambers by a nasal septum. If you touch your nose, 3/4 of your nose is made up of bone. Septum, 3/4 is made up of bone, and the part 1/4 part of your nose tip is what? Cartilaginous. 1/4 is cartilaginous. That is one of the important aspect of nose, important characteristic feature of nose, so that we can open and close this nostrils. Like while deep inhalation or forceful inhalation, we can widen our nostril with the help of this cartilage. That is one benefit. And coming with the purification, we have the nose. If we take an example of nose, the nasal chambers, as we discussed, each nasal chamber is lined by ciliated epithelium, a fine hairline, richly vascularized or highly vascularized. So if we consider the half of the purification and humidification takes place within the nasal chamber itself. See, lined by ciliated epithelium, where the germs, dust particle, any foreign particles are trapped by the ciliated epithelium and this fine hair lining in the nasal chambers. And the blood, as soon as it enters, it should warm down, or it has to be brought to our body temperature. So the blood vessels which are richly present in this nose will generate the heat. It will radiate the heat energy to the blood, and the blood will get warmed up. Irrespective of any environment outside, the air inhaled gets warmed up with the heat energy that is radiated from the blood vessels. So that is one of the important. Hence, these are the three important functions of conducting part, also the function of nose. And coming with the next part, okay, if you look at the diagram here, it is showing the pathway of the air passage. So external nostril, nasal passage, nasal cavities, also called nasal chambers. Then the next common organ is pharynx. The pharynx which is in contact with the nose is called nasopharynx, and the one which is in contact with the larynx is pharyngolarynx, and the one with the mouth is called oropharynx. The pharynx opens into the larynx through glottis and trachea at the fifth thoracic vertebral level divides into two bronchi. One is primary bronchi, the left primary bronchi and the right primary bronchi. The left primary bronchi enters into left lung and right primary bronchi enters into right lung respectively. Further, as soon as the primary bronchi enters into the lungs, it further divides into secondary, tertiary and bronchioles. So secondary bronchi further divides into two tertiary bronchi. Two tertiary bronchi divides into two bronchioles, and each bronchiole will divide further into terminal bronchiole and the respiratory bronchiole and the alveolar duct. So from the primary bronchi to alveolar duct, entire structure is called respiratory tree or bronchiole tree. So each lungs has about 8 million alveoli. So totally around 16 alveoli are present and 500,000 respiratory bronchioles are present. And coming with the air passage, the larynx, which is also called sound box or voice box, it's a cartilaginous box which is having vocal cords. Okay, 9 vocal cords are present and they produce help in the production of sound. During swallowing, glottis is closed by epiglottis, which is a thin elastic cartilaginous flap to prevent the entry of food into larynx. The windpipe and food pipe. Windpipe means trachea, and food pipe is nothing but esophagus. So the food should enter into esophagus and the air should enter into windpipe, that is trachea, and that is taken care by the epiglottis. Trachea or bronchi and initial bronchioles are supported by an incomplete cartilaginous ring. And what about the other half? Half is completed by muscles. Okay, half is having the cartilaginous ring and the other half is muscle, and that is the reason why the up and down of trachea can be done during inhalation and exhalation, and also helps in non-collapsing. It is avoiding the collapsation of the cartilage. Coming with the vocal cord is the structure which are present inside the sound box and helps in the production of sound. Next, coming with the lungs. Lungs are just balloon-like structures, highly vascularized and covered by pleural membrane, and they are supported by various rib bones, and in the dorsal side by the vertebral column bones, and it is present in an airtight chamber created by the thoracic cavity and rests on the diaphragm. So this diagram is of important from the label-based diagram-based questions are highly asked from this diagram. Sorry. Okay, so lungs from first time start here. Okay, lungs are situated in thoracic chamber and rests on diaphragm. Right lung has 3 lobes and left lung has 2 lobes. The 3 lobes are superior, middle lobe and inferior lobe. The reason for the reason why right lung is much more larger than left lung is to accommodate the kidneys. So on the left side the kidney is little bit upper side, though the in size they are differing, but the functionality of both the lungs are same. Both of them are functionally efficient as both. Each lung is covered by double layered pleura, outer parietal and inner visceral pleura, and in between this pleural layers there is an pleural fluid present in between these 2 layers, which is called pleural fluid, lubricates the surface of the lungs and prevents the friction against the membranes as well as the bones of the rib cage. Next, coming with this is the detailed structure. So coming with the respiratory or exchange part, lungs contains bronchi, bronchioles and alveoli. So alveoli is the structural and functional unit of respiration. It is highly vascularized with the capillaries provided, pulmonary artery and pulmonary vein. If we consider pulmonary artery, it is coming from the right ventricle from the heart, carrying the deoxygenated blood. As soon as it enters the alveoli, there the exchange of gases take place and the deoxygenated blood becomes oxygenated blood, and it is carried back to the heart through pulmonary veins. From pulmonary veins, left atrium, from left atrium to left ventricle, and from left ventricle the blood, the oxygenated blood is pumped into aorta. From aorta various branches comes out, and to various organs this blood is reaching, that is called systemic circulation, that we are going to study in detail in the next chapter.